Psalms 25, I'll be reading verses 20 and 21. Psalm 78, verses 70 through 72. This can be found on your pew Bibles over there on pages 503 and 540. Let's hear now the Word of God. O guard my life and deliver me. Do not let me be put to shame, for I take refuge in you. May integrity and uprightness preserve me, for I wait for you. In Psalm 78, he chose his servant David, and he took him from the sheepfolds. From tending the nursing ewes, he brought him to be the shepherd of his people, Jacob of Israel, his inheritance. With upright heart he tended them, and he guided them with skillful hand. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
I want to thank you for the opportunity of coming back to persecute you one more time. I'm delighted to be here. I've noticed a few changes. You all must have had a hot pulpit. You've got a fan right down here. It reminds me of my early days preaching. We didn't have air conditioning, and every preacher wore a suit, and you had a fan behind you. And that thing would blow across, and you'd feel the air, and then it'd go away, and then it'd come back to you. I guess this is the full thing. I'm going to ask Steve what that all means here today. I do see a few Baptist faces here, and I want to thank you. I hope that you hit the offering plate hard while you're here. We're glad to have you here. What happened to integrity? Sounds like a strange sermon subject, doesn't it? But I want you to know it's more appropriate than you might think. My preaching professor told me that I ought to preach with a paper in one hand and with the Bible in the other. And I ought to relate the Bible to the paper. In other words, what's going on in the world ought to have a part in what I'm saying to God's people. I want you to know that we have a problem with integrity here in Alabama. We've got a Speaker of the House that will be sentenced to prison, no doubt, this particular week. We've got a Chief Justice that's been removed from his point of leadership for the second time in his lifetime. We have a governor who is the butt of jokes all across the South. We have players from both Auburn and Alabama who have been caught with marijuana and stolen weapons in their possession. We have people, unbelievably so, who can write a memoir and remember everything that happened the past 30 years, but they can't remember anything that happened in the past 2 or 3 years when they come before a panel. We have a serious lack of integrity. The Day America Told the Truth is a book that's been written. In that book, statistics scared me to death, and they were really the basis of this sermon. 90% of the people they surveyed admitted to lying some of the time. 36% of the people they evaluated admitted telling untruths to deliberately hurt people. We have a problem with integrity. The Hebrew root of that word means whole, sound, unimpaired, entire. It indicates the absence of all deceit and any hypocrisy and any double standard that would have to do with financial accountability as well as personal reliability. Do we have integrity? A little integrity makes as much sense as a little pregnancy. You're either pregnant or you have integrity, one or the other. And somehow you must place yourself in the midst of this discussion. Our text comes from a time when David was in trouble, tempted. And David said, "Oh, keep my soul and deliver me. Let me not be ashamed, for I put my trust in thee. Let integrity and uprightness preserve me, for I wait on thee." As is so often the case, the integrity that David desired was passed on to Solomon. So he wrote in the book of Proverbs, "The just man walketh in his integrity. His children are blessed by him." In the simplest words I know, integrity means to say what you mean and mean what you say. Let me say that again. It means to say what you mean and mean what you say. And lest you think that I'm dealing with some peripheral idea, I want to remind everyone here that one of the 10 Commandments is about integrity. Thou shalt not bear false witness. And I turned over again to the book of Proverbs, Solomon's writing. There are 6 things the Lord hates, 7 that are detestable to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked schemes, feet that are quick to rush into evil, a false witness who pours out lies, and a man who stirs up dissension among his brothers. So when I talk about integrity, evidently this means a great deal to God. Do we have integrity? It's so easy to distort the truth. I don't know how many of you have ever been to court, but I've had the responsibility of going as witness to various things. And I'll tell you, it makes you think when they say, "Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?" That's the basis of all justice and judgment. Do you have integrity? Have you ever wondered why it's so hard for a foreigner to learn our language? It's because our language lacks integrity. Let me show you what I mean. There's no butter in buttermilk, no egg in eggplant, no worms in wormwood, no apple in pineapple, no ham in a hamburger, and no dog in a hot dog. At least I hope that's so. English muffins have nothing to do with England. Danish pastries didn't come from Denmark. And French fries didn't come from French. Adding to the problem, hot dogs can be cold. Homework can be done at school. Midwives can be men. Boxing rings are square. Silverware can be plastic. Let's face it, our language lies. The very language itself. And the Bible is filled with illustrations of people who lack integrity. Cain lied about his brother Abel. Joseph's brothers lied about the fact that they'd sold their brother into slavery. Abraham half lied about his wife Sarah being his sister. She was his half-sister, but she was also his wife. And people tell half lies and distort the truth doing it. Now, as many of you know, I love the outdoors, and I love hunting, fishing. I heard about this man who went fishing, didn't catch anything, went back by the fish place and bought himself some fish. They wrapped them up, and he said, "Now throw them to me, I'm going to say I caught them." The other thing I remember is this gentleman was talking among a group and said to this lady, she's the best housekeeper in town. Somebody there with him, "Well, have you ever been in her house?" He said, "No. But she's been married and divorced 3 times and kept the house every time." To overstate the truth or understate the truth is to lack integrity. Somehow, we don't make statements and actually try to carry them out. For example, we tell God we're going to do something and then turn around and do just the opposite. Or we make New Year's resolutions that don't even last to February the 1st. We have an easy way of slipping into a lack of integrity. But the Bible is full of people that did have real integrity. I think of Joseph, down in Egypt, responsible for the land in a time of starvation in the land where he grew up. His father and his brothers come. And rather than condemn them for what they did to him, with integrity, he made a decision to take care of them. I think of Joshua. After Moses died, Joshua was given command of the people. And there was a little rumbling. And there was a temptation to go back to the past or to become like the Amorites where they lived. Listen to Joshua. "And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom you will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land ye dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." You see in the Bible incidents of a flowing of integrity and a lack of integrity. Now David, by the way, if you ever go to Rome, you want to see the statue of David. Big, strong leader, great warrior. But think of David facing Goliath, trusting what God had whispered in his ear, and willing to take on a giant with a slingshot. That's all, plus God. But that was enough. Or think of Paul and Silas in jail in Philippi. And by the way, in my study of the Bible, it might interest you, they were put in that inner jail by the Philippian jailer. You know, at midnight, instead of griping and cursing at what had happened to them, they were praying and singing praises to God. As a result of that, prison being shaken literally loose and saving the Philippian jailer, we know the story of Paul and Silas in the Philippian jail. Has it ever crossed your mind that when you read the book of Philippians, there's not one mention of the Philippian jailer? What happened to him? Where did he go? What did he do? What sort of witness did he really have? It's a matter of integrity. And then when you come to the crux of the matter, everything about the New Testament centers in the cross. A third or a half of every gospel writing has to do with the events of the cross. Think about integrity and the cross. Judas lived a lie all his life, and he sold the Lord for a few pieces of silver. Peter, standing out there at Caiaphas' yard, cursed and lied about the fact that he ever knew the Lord. Pilate, according to the Bible, knew full well that Jesus was innocent, that he didn't deserve to die. And he tried every way he could to get out of condemning him, but to please the crowd, he showed his lack of integrity and assigned Jesus to crucifixion. All of that's bad, but listen to me. The way-faced rabbis who should have known the truth and the chief priest in the temple lived out a lie when they condemned Jesus. Here's what the scripture says. They were filled with madness and communed with one another what they might do to Jesus. What was the problem? Jesus hung their hypocrisy out on a line so all could see it, and they couldn't stand the sight. So they made up a lie about Jesus and Caesar. Now, true integrity is not determined by circumstance. You know, I've seen some people who wax eloquently in church but live terrible lives. I've witnessed some people who would have you believe they're people of integrity, but when it comes to business, they lack integrity. Integrity ought to be a real part of who we are, and circumstance should never determine our integrity, because circumstance can trigger a witness or silence a testimony. It depends on the person. And I would say to you that there is no place more important for integrity than in the home. If as a parent you don't walk the talk, the first people to know the difference are your children. And they will remember what you do a lot longer than they remember what you say. You know, I'm a Rotarian. Have been since 1958. President of 2 clubs, governor of the state of Alabama. Every meeting we have, we close with a 4-way test. You know what it is? Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Is it beneficial to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Maybe, just maybe, we ought to think about that as it relates to our lives. Edgar Guest, a very fine poet who influenced so much of us, said, "I'd rather see a sermon than hear one any day. I'd rather one would walk with me than merely tell the way. For the best of all the Christians are those who live their creed, or to see good put into action is what everybody needs. That is integrity. May somehow we allow God to strengthen us to display it to the needy world." We're going to stand now and sing the hymn of response, which is hymn number 391, "Take My Life and Let It Be." You'll see the verses marked in the order of worship. Let's stand together as we sing.